Alright, finally. Oh my gosh, that was so difficult. This is the problem with streaming. Every time you stream, you try to do something, you think you've got it sorted out, well, it just all goes to pot, doesn't it? Which is what happened today. Sorry about that for those of you who were expecting things to sort of happen. And it didn't, and you had to wait like a couple of minutes. I do apologise. I'm really sorry about that. The sound is working good now. And I'm going to blame it all on the fact that I had to restart my computer because Steam, for some reason, Steam just wouldn't let me do what I wanted to do, which was close something down so it wouldn't interfere with what I was doing here. And it just didn't happen. And it sort of sucks. But hey, we will get on with things. I'm going to rip through this and get as much done as we possibly can in about an hour, hour and a half. Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today we're not just going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, we're actually going to have a go at continuing to finish the Otyugh. This is like a Dungeons and Dragons monster, hides and rubbish and waste and so forth. It's got 3 tentacle things, 1 with some eyes on it and 2 for grabbing onto things, and a great huge mouth for just eating stuff, and 3 legs. So that is what we're going to work on today. As always, by all means, since this is such a long live stream, ask questions, chat along with me. I'm happy to talk about anything whatsoever, even if it's not related to Dungeons and Dragons. Seems strange, but we have a lot to get through, so let us crack on and just go over the basic materials that I'm going to be using for today. And yes, if you were thinking, Fred scheduled it and he's not showing up and I'm here at the right time and he's late by like, was it 8 minutes or whatever, I am really sorry about that. It was not my intention to be late showing up for this. I had everything going and I thought, right, I'm set, and then just for whatever reason that stream program just messed with me. Hi Joseph, how's it going? Roll for damage. Woohoo, yes, thank you for coming and watching, man. Hate makes tentacle things. Yes, tentacle things. We're going to make tentacle things. We're going to try to duplicate this creature, and this is the main structure that I've made so far. I've been wangling with it. I've got my pliers out, started twisting and wrenching it around, trying to get the shape that I want. What's that, Joseph? Thanks for the notes on Lost Mines. You are welcome, Joseph. I hope that you find it useful. Hate mates. Yes, talk about Trump. Talking about Trump would get my my channel flagged, I suspect, so let's probably not do that. And probably demonetized or classified as not suitable for all advertisers. So yes, let's not do that. Let's stay away from politics. I don't mind talking about fun stuff. Let's talk about fun stuff, but let's make some monsters. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way. Last time we used wire, a lot of hot glue, and a wooden ball for the center, and then we covered everything in tin foil. And what I've done is I've got my pliers and I've tried to sort of get my leg more forward. So it's got a bend in the knee here, which goes back and then forward. So I'm trying to do that. So that's what I've got so far. It hasn't worked quite the way that I had hoped. Let's just twist that way. Just a fraction. I just want to get the shape right before I start chucking putty all over it, because once I do that, it's all over, right? I can't do anything else. It's too late to make adjustments. So I'm going to just wrench this back a bit more, bend that a fraction more. Now, for those of you who are thinking, well, Fred, look at all the tin foil, it's going all over the place. Well, I can fix that. That's not going to be a problem. We just put more tin foil over it. That's the solution. Just chuck more tin foil on the places that are missing it. Okay. I feel like that isn't too bad. I just need to get the right shape in the feet, and I'm trying to get it onto the, a large size miniature base seems like a large base area, but it's actually pretty small. How's it going, Orange Void? Welcome. And yeah. You can have your laughs, hate. I totally understand, but yeah, let's stay away from the political arena. Yeah, if we're going to talk about the political arena, let's talk about the political arena in Waters Deep with the council in there. That I can handle. All right. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I might just trim off that bit of wire there, because I feel like it's basically got the length and the shape that I want. It's just a piece of wire sticking out that I want to get rid of. Alright. Ta-da! Okay, it's like I made it myself. Alright, okay, so let's go over the basic materials. Joseph, any news on Waterkainen's tome of foes? Well, no, I haven't. They've been doing, D&D Beyond has been releasing information on it, but it's like a lot less than Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Okay, so the stuff I'm using today, I've got my self-healing cutting board, or cutting surface. I've got my milliput, which I'm going to use quite a lot of. This is the stuff that I really think is more suitable because it's cheap and I can use it, quite a lot of it. Some pliers, which I've already been using. These are the Stanley. You can find everything down in the description. All the materials and tools are down in the description. Stanley, I've got my classic Stanley blade, nice heavy blade. I've got some blue tag for just tacking things together. I've got a whole lot of milliput round things, which I'm going to use as eyeballs. I made these in advance when I had spare material, so I'm going to use these for making my eyes. I've got some toothpicks for making tooth if I get that far. I'm not sure I'm necessarily going to get that far, but we'll see how we go. And then I've got my Citadel sculpting tools. You don't have to use these, you could use anything you really want, but I've found them incredibly useful actually, as it happens. And probably my favourite tool is this one that looks like it's got one head of a halberd, and it's got a pointy bit and then a curved end, and then there's surprisingly I've found this plastic one, which I thought was an absolute joke and a waste of my time. It's actually been pretty good for smoothing over the putty, as long as there isn't putty on it. And yeah, okay, I got that off. And the same thing on the other side. It's just, for whatever reason, the putty tends to stick to dry putty, so I've got to clean it off every once in a while. Okay, so that's what I'm using. Oh, I've also got some green stuff, but it's more expensive. I'm only going to use that if I absolutely have to, and I have no other choice. What's that, Jeff? How to paint monsters crevice. Oh god. So the paint colours do not bleed. I don't know. Don't know what to say to that, Jeff. I was talking to my brother today, who's right into painting modelling. He's much better than I am, and I was trying to convince him to live stream on Twitch TV. And I've got some tin foil for just making some slight adjustments. So the first thing is I want to sort of sort out the legs, and then I want to get the putty on as quickly as I possibly can. So what we're going to do is tear a couple of strips of this. And yeah, play your own music. I won't be playing any music because it'll just be royalty free. Who needs that? Okay. I need to make a note of the time since I wasted like 8 minutes. Make sure I run a little bit longer to compensate. For those of you who have been so dedicated and willing to watch my long bottom live streams of making monsters. Keep it clean, keep it clean. I'm trying to. Alright. I think that's probably going to be enough. And, like always, just going to wrap around. Just wrap it around. Squeeze it in place. And the hot glue gun should be getting kind of warm now, so I should be able to use it shortly. And I'm going to right now, right there. Alright, good. That's it. And then press it down into place. Look, the glue's coming out. I have to make sure I sort of... Alright, I've captured it. It's done. Okay. Alright, so that's a little bit better. It's more of what I was wanting. I'm going to fold this in half. I found that's really helpful for just building up one area. Okay, so what's that? Joseph, what got me into D&D? Well, I played Warhammer 40k. I needed like a hobby because I couldn't keep doing the martial arts. It was damaging my body. I was getting a bit broken, and all the people that I was training with, they all they went their own way. So as a result, I need something that doesn't involve hurting myself or somebody else, really, but mostly hurting myself because that's what was happening. And I decided, oh, well, I'll get back into board games and stuff like that. And I thought, well, I'll have a go at this Warhammer 40k because I kind of always liked the idea. But at the end of that couple of years of playing that, I didn't really have any friends, and so I thought, well, let's try Dungeons and Dragons. I always enjoyed playing Hero Quest with my family. Maybe Dungeons and Dragons is for me, the role-play game. So I had a go, and it just progressed from there. We used to sit around in the flat drinking ginger beer, real ginger beer, alcoholic ginger beer, and yeah, slowly getting more inebriated as we played Dungeons and Dragons. So that's how I sort of started off. That's basically the gist of it. And I found it being far more useful to me than playing other games that have been competitive, because the friends that I've formed usually have been lifetime friends. I still see them, which is why I keep doing it. It's really a shame when people think that Dungeons and Dragons is about role playing, and that's it. I know that sounds strange, okay? Dungeons and Dragons is about fantasy and role playing, but actually its greatest asset is the ability to form friendships, and friendships often, if you do it right, that will last an incredibly long time. You'd be surprised, particularly if you've got friends who wind up going off and doing other things other than just Dungeons and Dragons. And I really do encourage people to go and do other things with their friends rather than just playing Dungeons and Dragons. Have a night when not everybody shows up, go to the movies, Go and have a meal, go to a cafe, go do something else. Keep those friendships going. Make them stronger than just the connection to the game. So yeah, that's really the reason why I got into Dungeons and Dragons, is because it was a good way to meet people. And they haven't always been like-minded, but to a certain degree they have been pretty close to where my head was at. Although I find myself surrounded by a lot of people who are far smarter than I am. And I know you guys don't believe me, but it's true. I've got a lot of friends who are incredibly smart, and I feel out of place at times. Okay, let's just smear some glue on there and get that to cover and hold in place. Right. What's that hate? Do the William Wallace line, Never take our freedom. That line. Never take our freedom. Yeah, that's it. I could do it louder, but it probably wouldn't be such a great idea. You guys would all have to put earmuffs on. You might already have them on it. Who knows, for all I know. Okay. Alright, so I'm just making sure all my bits are mostly held in place. Also, I noticed there was a couple of cavities, and I was going to fill it with tin foil, but I can't be bothered. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a whole lot of glue there instead. Okay. Right, I think that is built up enough bulk to put the putty on. So, let us grab that gun and fill in here on the side. I really don't like that, so I'm going to fill it in there, sort of move it around a bit so it's not poking out too much. Do the same thing on the other side. Fill in the gap and then just move it around a little bit. It's going to sink anyway and contract. Most glues do contract when you're using them up once they've dried out. Okay, so let's start filling these spaces in. You need that milliput. This is a good time to grab it. I'll move my glue gun out of the way. Okay, what's that? Hate, what's that? Do you didn't do it right. I didn't do it right. Okay. Never take our freedom! I can't really do it, man. I'm going to lose my voice. I'm no William Wallace. Joseph, is that near Australia and New Zealand? What's near Australia and New Zealand? I'm not sure what you're talking about. You'll have to explain more. While I'm getting this stuff out, you'll have to explain. Let me know what you're talking about. I'm not sure what you're referring to. What is near Australia and New Zealand? Okay. So I'm going to mix up small amounts. We're going to need quite a lot though, so I'm going to have to do this a couple of times. And as the weather, I feel like every time I mix too much, I always regret it. So just that for now. And give it a round ball. William Wallace, the William Wallace line. Okay, William Wallace, think Scotland. William Wallace. I'm not from Scotland. I'm not Scottish. Okay. I believe, oh gosh. Mel Gibson played William Wallace in Braveheart. I don't know if you've watched that movie, but that's what he's referring to. Okay. Oh, hate. Lightning bolt from my... Yep, not saying that word. Everybody else can see it. Not saying it. Okay. Okay, alright, so we've got the basic gist. I'm going to just shuffle some things out of the way because I feel like I'm making a mess of my workspace. It's funny, I didn't realize, when you've got little space on your desk, pushing things around and making sure you've got space seems to be super important. Hence why I'm pushing things around as I go. And yeah, we'll move that around. Okay, cool. Alright, what that hate? Is milliput better than the polymer clay? Look, I wouldn't say it's better. Look, this takes about, in the right air conditions, if it's not too hot, it'll take about 2 to 4 hours to dry. It gives you lots of time to work with it. It dries very hard so you can sand it. I was actually talking with my brother who was working on cars. He does model cars and paints them and so forth, builds them from scratch, and just puts models together. And he needed something he could sand, and we were talking about milliput because you can't really sand green stuff because it's a bit too flexible. It kind of goes fluffy. I tried air dry clay. It's no good. Well, yeah, I think you'll find that air dry clay, I've got air dry clay, but I'm not going to use that because it's really fragile. It tends to crack and it tends to break if you drop it. You can probably get away with dropping milliput a couple of times on the floor and it'll be fine. Green stuff shouldn't be an issue at all. But yeah, milliput's not too bad, but it dries hard. It's not flexible and you can sand it, which is why I prefer using it. And also because it's cheap, and we're trying to make cheap D&D miniatures, the Otyugh. So that's why I'm doing it. Okay. Alright, let's do some... I believe the sausage technique is necessary here. What I'm going to do too, I noticed that on the sides here, I really am not happy with the mouth section. So I'm going to kind of fold it in a bit. It's not working the way I'd like to. Maybe I should just cut it. Just cut. That's it. Getting the knife out and just cut, and then I can fold it in a little bit easier. Little bugs flying around here. Here we go. And let's... Oh, okay, that's not so bad. I actually can get the mouth a bit bigger now. The mouth will open up significantly by doing that. That's nice. Yeah. Because that's what you want, is you want to get as much mouth area as possible, right? It's a creature with legs, but mostly it's just great huge mouth area. I love it. Good. Let's do that. So I'm going to put a bit of glue in there just to make sure things stay in place. I'm assuming that things will stay in place, but of course it doesn't do that. Oh, throwing things around. Here we go. I should have put it on the inside. Let's do that again. I'm making a bit of a mess, guys. Bear with me. Alright, that's better. Lift up the fold and glue. Lift up the fold and glue. There we go. I'll turn it around so you can actually see. Half my hand's in the way. I feel like that isn't too bad. Alright, cool. Oh. Okay, what do we got here? Joseph, can't believe it. 2 days from Paddy's Day. Oh, well, we know what's going to happen on Paddy's Day. There's going to be a lot of liquid consumed. I can't drink anymore, so it's not really something I really think too much about nowadays. Not that I used to drink very much anyway, but unless of course it was... I have a thing for ginger beer. I don't really... I mean, I'll drink good wine, but I'm not really a beer fan myself. And I'm not really a Guinness drinker. So, yeah. And now I can't really do it at all because my stomach's a mess. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a circle. I was going to do a sausage, but I'm going to do the mouth first because I feel like that area is more likely to cause me trouble later. And flatten it out. And then shove that in the mouth there, pat it down, and then keep building from there. We are trying to coat the thing, right? Coat and cover, coat and cover. Is that going to work? I feel like it's giving me trouble. If I break it off and put just a small amount in there. Alright, where's that little plastic piece? And then the round one. Okay, I can see this is going to be really, really difficult getting it in the mouth. Fantastic. Alright, we'll just pat it down. Pat, pat, pat. If I'm not pointing it in the right direction, you guys need to actually let me know in the chat, because otherwise I kind of just do it and talk occasionally, or too much, and I'm not paying attention to what's going on for you guys. And if you let me know, I'll make adjustments. Alright, okay, so that's got some of it done. I'm going to just press in a bit more and press in a bit more. And then I'll just pad that in. Like so. Very easy. Yeah, right. You can see how much trouble I'm having with the mouth. You need the likes of Roll for Damage. Roll for Damage is extremely good at this sort of stuff. I've seen him. Okay, and then just pad that all down. In terms of does it need to be absolutely pretty and tidy, I don't think it really does, because we can sort of fix that. I find that the stuff will sort of mesh together a little bit all by its lonesome without very much work anyway. It's just making sure the joins are good so it doesn't come apart. And the more putty you put on and the more you let it dry, the easier it is to start getting things to work. Okay, alright, well that's good. Let's do some more. Oh, I feel like I just want to cover a really big area really fast. I'm going to cheat, guys. Cheating. Big ball. And I'll flatten it down. And I'm going to cover the top section really fast. Let's just cover as much as we possibly can in the shortest amount of time. There we go. Very good. Remember, it doesn't want to be too thin, but not too thick either. And then just lay it where we want it. I think that's... Is that where I want it? Hopefully. Press that down. so. And now the milliput has a little bit more trouble sticking to something like glue, like the hot glue gun compound doesn't stick to that as well as other things. So yeah, just remember that not to cover your whole miniature with hot glue and then try to put this stuff over the top. Oh, hey, is it buffering? Oh, I really apologise for that. I've had some dickens of a problem with, what is it? I've had a lot of trouble with my internet provider. They keep messing things around, making a mess of stuff. And I've got a couple more months and I will eventually have access to fibre, which means faster internet, and I could probably be able to stream on YouTube and Twitch TV at the same time and it won't cause any problems. But that's months away, unfortunately, so at least 3 or 4 months before I'll have access to something like fibre. But yeah, I know that will certainly improve the viewing quality for you guys. And if it's buffering, I do apologise, but there's not an awful lot I can do, unfortunately. Let's get the little plastic one. I found that a little bit more useful in terms of just flattening things off and smoothing really quick. Now, because this is going to dry hard, it's going to make it much easier for me to put my teeth in. I can drill it into the actual structure and mount my teeth. Well, not my teeth, but the monster's teeth. I've got my own teeth. I don't need more teeth. I've only got one rebuilt tooth, so I don't have to do any more. Just keep looking after them. Remember, floss every day, brush your teeth. Okay, cool. All right, so that seems to be alright. It's covered reasonably, and we're going to mix some more of that stuff up. Where is it? Where did I put it? Over here. Here's another little bowl and something similar size, like so. And grab another one. I'm in the process of trying to come up with the next series. So I've done a block series. I've been doing a lot of monster tactics. You might still get more top monster tactic videos after today. But I'm also trying to work on the stuff that me and John shot for Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Actually, John was asking me if I wanted to shoot any more, and I haven't really had a chance to sort of process what we've already done. So once that's done, we'll shoot some more videos for Xanathar's Guide, the players stuff and the DM stuff, and I'll try and edit that and get that up. But that's going to take me, probably going to release like one a week or something like that. Straight after this live stream, that's probably what I'm going to be doing, is just going through and sorting through, I believe, what is it, the Horizon Walker. We did a video on the Horizon Walker. Roll for damage, what's that? I like the tactics a lot, helps a bunch. Yeah, you know, I'm glad that I've had a pretty good positive response. I'm always really scared about doing the tactic monster videos because there isn't a lot of information on how to run your monsters. You're sort of expected just to know how to do it. And I don't want to give people information which is incorrect. So I hate to say it, but I do a lot of research, and I'm also always worried that I've actually given you the wrong information. So I know in the live chat you got an opportunity to talk to me about, ask questions, give feedback, but I actually find it really useful if people start putting comments down after the video goes, you know, after it's live and it's published by YouTube. Putting comments down and giving me feedback on those videos. Clicking the like button's good, but you know, giving me a critique if I've got something wrong or I needed to add something, or confirming that the tactic that I've talked about is actually a tactic that you use in your game with your monsters, would be really helpful for those of you who are there. Really helpful, honestly. The more we build up a resource of that information, the easier it is going to be for new Dungeon Masters and experienced to use their monsters in interesting ways during combat, or at least setting them up for an interesting combat. Okay, let us, I did sort of a whole bunch on the top. I want to get underneath this thing, so let us rip off half of that, make a big ball and try and cover it as much as I possibly can, right? Because I'm going to get it done faster. So faster. How's it going, Mel? I'll roll for damage. Comments help way more to grow the channel as well. Yeah, I really feel like the I know what it is. It's because I go live and people have the opportunity to ask the questions they would normally have asked. So what they do is they wait until they can actually ask me live. So I get fewer comments. I get a lot of likes, you know, because, you know, if the content's any good and I haven't made a complete mess of it, they like it. But I'm not getting the comments because they've already asked those questions. You know, they've already dealt with those topics they wanted to talk about. So it's dropped off quite a lot. And actually, it's good because if people leave comments, makes a big difference, you know, in terms of people deciding whether they'll view it. What I do love is the fact that you can now watch a live stream video and you can see what people were saying in the live stream. So you can actually see the comments. That's a huge help. Makes a big difference. How's it going, Mel? How many miniatures have you created on your YouTube channel now? I don't know, man. I have no idea. Close to 10, I think, maybe. I have to go and count them. I had somebody ask me a question, say, Fred, what's your five favorite miniatures that you have? And I was like, oh, I've got so many. You're making that's a hard question. And there was Blanco was saying, oh, when are you going to do another live stream of your miniature collection? I was thinking, cool, blimey. I honestly wouldn't have thought people would be interested in just watching me showing them stuff. Apparently I'm wrong. It wouldn't be the first time. But yeah, I'm always surprised about what people find interesting as entertainment. I'm trying to convince my brother, look, mate, they'll watch you doing stuff. Don't worry about it. Just do it. Roll for damage. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's just how it is. But still get the comments in the chat, as long as that's up there that, you know, people can actually see what people are saying. It's just trying to, you know, if the stream is like an hour and a half and they're not necessarily wanting to watch the entire thing, then it's a little bit tricky. I think the comment section is still a good place to put stuff. And you can, you know, live chat, you can drive the conversation and the things that I say, you can drive the conversation in the direction that people need to ask or want to know about, or what you want to know about, which is always good too. This is why I keep doing it. You know, I'm a teacher, and although I don't have a teaching job, I now work for Mitre 10, which is home improvements. I spend a lot of my time in the first few days, I've found, just explaining to people how to do stuff. And I kind of miss that. And one of the things about teaching is feedback. You know, so feedback on live stream is, it's real time. You don't have to wait. You know, well, there's a little bit of buffering going on, I realise that. So there's a little bit of a lag going on, but it's still a bit more, you know, you ask a question, you get some feedback, you go from there. I think that's a great thing, which I think that's why YouTube has been pushing for live stream. That's why they tend to support people who do live stream, you know, because they want people to be watching real time. They want to be classified as being real TV, apparently. But it's also really good for learning, you know, and sharing ideas. All your tentacles are pointing the same way. The middle one should point the other way. All I did was try to base the tentacles position on this original miniature. So one is going to be facing forward, one is going to have the eyeballs in the front, and the other one's actually going to have the little spiky bits near the back. So they're not all going to be pointing in the same direction. It just seems like it. So don't worry about it. It will change. We're gonna go like that. Just plonk that on there. Get it on. Mucking around, Fred. What's that, Mel? I'll second the miniature collection part 2 vid. Maybe a video of your created miniatures before you start painting. Yeah, I could do that. That's not a problem. That would be really easy for me to do. How much work would that require me to do, you know? I just got to put them on the table, right? And then show them in front of the camera. I was also, somebody was asking me about my biggest miniatures, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just collect all the really big stuff that I can't store in containers that are sort of scattered around the place and in desks and so forth, and show you guys that stuff as well, and then move on to some of the smaller stuff. Finally decide what my 5 favourite miniatures are. Maybe I'll do a video on that as well. It just seems a little bit strange to be doing collection videos. I mean, I know there's whole channels that just deal with collections of books and anything, and that does well, and people are interested. I just don't want to make the entire channel about that. That's all. So I will do them again. They'll happen again. They just probably won't happen straight away. So right now, for the players, for those people who are less interested in sculpting and making monsters and they're not really dungeon masters, what I've been trying to do is put together a series of videos that I can run through on. And I was going to do adventuring gear, but then I realized actually it's much more complicated than I thought it was. It's like many things I do. You start something and you realize I've just bitten off more than I can chew. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the barbarian class. I'm going to try to do the barbarian class next, cover that class, and somebody was talking about races, and I feel like covering the races is actually, you know, there would be much shorter blocks of videos, so I feel like that's actually not a bad idea too. So that could certainly happen. What do we got here? Joseph, what's the hardest campaign you ran as a DM? It's bad memories though, man. Okay, it's Princes of the Apocalypse. I never got through the whole thing. Definitely the hardest campaign I've ever run. And after Princes of the Apocalypse, the next hardest one is definitely got to be the Tyranny of Dragons, Horde of the Dragon Queen, the Frozen Castle, followed by the Rise of Tiamat. And then I moved on to Revenge of the Giants, which they played right up to level 20. It was running a campaign from level 1 all the way to level 20 is a mission, and it's much harder than you realise, and it's really hard to get your head around the fact that you've got to stop using combat as a testing ground. You've got to get them to use other techniques, because they can, you know, they've got so many different spells. Oh, combat shows up. Alright, I'm just going to cast Wish and turn everything into a jellyfish. Okay, great, sure, that'll do. So yeah, high level play is always the tough one. Alright, so squashing up some more putty, and we'll get this on here as quickly as I possibly can. For those of you who think I haven't built up very much, I am honestly, I'm going as fast as I can. Joseph, is Curse of Strahd hard to run? The book is laid out well enough that you can get away with not having to read the entire thing. Even if you read the entire book, you probably won't remember everything. So you can get away with sort of limited prep, because some of the chapters and areas are fairly short, you know, maybe 5-10 pages, some are a little bit longer. The castle itself, Ravenloft Castle, is much longer, so it's a lot harder to sort of manage. It's about 30-35 pages, roughly, something like that. I found it was more that they can go anywhere. You know, it's a sandbox, so that's the real issue, is you don't know where they're going to go. And even when I read the vast majority of the adventure, I had to go back and reread stuff because I didn't remember stuff. You know, it's just too much information to take on board. I still think it's a reasonable adventure. I enjoyed running it. I wouldn't run it again, but then again, I don't like running things again anyway. There's a lot of character depth because, you know, whatever the developers were doing, they honestly made some locations very, very difficult. So unless you adjust them, and I don't usually bother adjusting things very much, it winds up being extremely difficult. And if the players do things in a kind of a backward manner, then they can get pretty messed up pretty quick. So still, I've been saying I would do sort of a DM guide on the Curse of Strahd, but I'm still trying to get my way through Horde of the Dragon Queen, and it's pretty clear to me, considering the number of questions I get about the Lost Mine of Phandelver, and the fact that somebody just recently has asked for my notes on the Lost Mine of Phandelver, that I need to go and revisit the Lost Mine of Phandelver as well. So it's never going to be enough time in the day to get all that done. So it really is going to come down to priority. Hassle me enough about it, I'll probably get it done. And I'm getting better at figuring out how to use OBS. Clearly not better at figuring out how to deal with Steam, which was trying to make a mess of my computer just a few minutes ago, or about half an hour ago. But yeah, OBS, I'm getting a bit more adventurous, including a lot more sort of different sorts of frames and scenes, and I'm doing that live, so it's not pre-recorded, so I've got to try to coincide what I'm saying. Man, that's hard, coinciding what you say while you put the screens up, different images, shuffle things round. But the good thing is you can move back to a scene. You know, if somebody needs to talk about something, you go back to a scene, talk about the same thing again, show them a map, show them the character charts. Oh, it's pretty awesome. I couldn't do that before. Normally I'd have to have printed it out and just planted it in front of the camera. The only thing I dislike about OBS is that unless I've scheduled an event, it will try to put me up live every time I'm trying to work on it. So if I'm trying to set up a new video for you guys, it kicks in and decides to start filming straight away, and I'm like, oh no, now there's 5 minutes that people think that I was like going to do something and I was actually not doing anything. I was trying to prep for the next video. It's like, ah. I'm just lucky, I think, that most people have been reasonably understanding about the fact that that's actually an accident. Andy, how's it going? Kia ora. Where are you from, Andy? I know, obviously, I know you're from New Zealand. Whereabouts? I'm in Helensville, and oh, this is the only problem. If I can figure out how to turn off notifications and comments while I'm doing a live stream, that would be extremely useful. Lower Hutt, Wellington. Oh. Do you classify Lower Hutt as Wellington, or do you feel like Lower Hutt is its own entity outside of Wellington, Andy? I know a lot of people, when they talk about Helensville, they say, no, that's Auckland. And I'm like, no, it's not Auckland. It's maybe the Auckland area, but I'm not in Auckland City. I'm actually quite a lot further away. So that's going on pretty well. We're getting some stuff on there. Let's just keep padding and filling and pressing. Oh. What I noticed on Greater Wellington area, yeah. See, I feel the same way. I don't feel like Helensville is Auckland City. It's just the Auckland region. I feel like Helensville is more the Rodney County, which it is. It is, you know. If I'm voting, that's exactly what it's considered. What I came across a post by Troy regarding a topic which I think I've spoken about before, but while I'm doing this, let's have a talk about it right now. And that is the difference between role-playing your character and trying to reduce the amount of, well, really trying to reduce the amount of conflict between your players, you know. I feel like a lot of people keep forgetting that zero session, you know, have a zero session. so that you don't want a whole lot of people who have different views on how the game should be played, and making sure that before you start doing crazy stuff at your table. It happened to me recently. You know, you get a new person to the table and they try doing something a bit too crazy, and it sort of interferes with the existing group, and they get upset, and then they decide to leave because, you know, the people are being unfair, or there's a misunderstanding about what was going to happen with these characters and how they were going to be played. And zero sessions are really important for understanding your expectations. You know, if you don't all have the same expectation at the table, or it can at least accept that somebody else wants to play the game slightly different at the table and accept that's going to happen, then that's going to be a bit of an issue. And also too, why is it that everybody seems to think that role-playing in Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing the character the way you think it should be played, or the way it's been put down on paper, is more important than keeping your friendships or developing friendships? I don't understand that view. It's strange. I know actually I do understand it, because I did the same thing myself, and some of my friends have done the same things. And people who I used to be my friends are no longer my friends because they listen to silly people on the internet, and they took the view of it's more important that we stay true to the way the character should be played in Dungeons and Dragons, rather than protecting our friendships that we are trying to develop. Oh gosh. Alright. Okay, what's that? Andy, missed the start. So what is the foil base made of? Okay, so this is a wooden ball, small moth ball, that I drilled some holes into, put some paper clips into, bent them the right shape, wrapped all the tin foil around the structure to create this, and now I'm covering it in milliput. Not just because I like playing with milliput, because there is a purpose to it, but yeah, that's currently how it's sort of constructed. But yeah, it's interesting. Why do people think that all rogues are going to go around taking people out, or taking monsters and characters out, or NPCs out, and stealing stuff and being immoral? They're not necessarily going to do that. And I think the problem is everybody wants to play chaotic, neutral, or evil characters, and, you know, I'm just playing the character the way it's on the table, and, you know, this is my alignment, and these are my flaws, and these are my personality traits, and, well, yeah, but why would that character even be with this group if that's the way he's going to act, or they're going to act, or she's going to act, or it's going to act? Just doesn't make sense. And that's honestly going to be more important than keeping a friendship. I want to keep the friendship. I can play Dungeons and Dragons with anybody, but friends are hard to come by. Alright. Fold that over. Okay. So I feel like I've got a good chance of coating the entire thing, and then building in detail and shape and so forth will probably come later. We're going to try to tackle the body and the legs. If I get to the tentacles, great news, great news. Andy, you agree with that? Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad you agree. I feel like there's a lot of people who get a little bit caught up. You know, it's weird when you start out playing the game, and if you're in in a particular environment, your view of how the game should be played is very, very sort of tunnel vision. Which is why, to a large extent, I try really hard. I try not to be too preachy if I can help it. I know it happens sometimes. Everybody does. You know, everybody's biased. Let's get real. There's nobody who isn't biased about how a game should be played. But I try to give you options. You know, I try to just talk about stuff, and these are options you can use. And, you know, you don't have to do it this way, but these are some things you can do. You know, just because you've taken a character, you know, NPC, a monster, down to 0 hit points doesn't mean that it's dead. You can, if you're in melee, you can knock it out and ransom it off, or ask it questions. Always good to gather intelligence, right? Smart players gather intelligence. Okay. And where are we going to stick this? I need smaller balls. There we go. Flatten that out and let's try to coat and cover the back end. Coat and cover. So what I'm going to do, because time is of the essence, we're not getting any younger, is I'm going to coat as much of this and then I'm going to flatten out as quickly as I possibly can, okay? There. So if it looks kind of hoary, it's because it might be a little bit hoary, but it'll all look fine in the end. Just got to have a positive attitude. Positive attitude makes all the difference, no matter what. There's a little bit of sarcasm in there for those of you who haven't figured it out. So yeah, I'm currently working at Mitre 10, and it doesn't pay well, but I'm kind of enjoying it. It's just getting lost in the mega centres. I'm like, where do I put everything? But talking with customers about stuff is great. Enjoying that a lot. Andy, we have a rogue who is getting a little too into character, annoying some of the other players. But as a group, we discussed, and it's all worked out okay. Yeah, see, that's the thing, is you just need to sit down and talk, you know. I've had friends who've had the same thing happen to them, and if you just sit down and just make a few adjustments, it's like, really, is metagaming to keep the peace at the table a cardinal rule? You know, is that a cardinal sin to metagame while you're playing the game to keep the peace at the table? I don't think it is myself. Yeah, but then again, I'm biased. I'm always going to go for keep the friendship rather than lose it. Lost too many friends along the way. Yeah. And, you know, not just talking about disagreements. I mean, people passing away as well. And that's always the saddest one. And you start thinking, well, you know, what was I thinking? I couldn't get over that issue, and now they're gone. There's nothing I can do. Oh, Andy, you're lucky with your group of friends. Well, that's good. Look, yeah, one of my actually, that's what I should do. Is I need to get onto it and put up my group social contract or guidelines that I use. And people can, it's a Word document, so people can adjust it and make, you know, changes to it themselves. They can see what I use, and maybe that'll help. I think that's actually a really good idea. Maybe I should do that. If I remember, I'll do it today. Put it up on the How to D&D Facebook group, so that people can check it out, download it, make adjustments themselves if they want to. No piece of paper is set in concrete. Okay, man, I have to say, although this is really new to me, making miniatures. I mean, I like making stuff. I've made lots of things over the years, but this is what makes me relax the most. It's just calm right down. Chill factor comes in, and I just sort of blab. Well, that's essentially what's happening right now. I'm blabbing, but it's good. I like it. Okay, all right. So let's tackle a leg. Which one looks the least problematic? Let's go with there. Go from the underneath. Always feel like I'm always picking the easiest area to cover. No, I don't want to do the hard bits. Let's do the easy bits first. Ah, dear. Okay, what's that, Andy? we talk about doing that too. Yeah? How many of your minis have you built yourself? Yeah, they will. Mel just asked me that question, and I don't know the answer to it. I'll do a video and I'll put it up and I'll show you guys what I've done so far. And but it's a few. I would say it's a close to 10. Close to 10. And by the time, you know, a year rocks round and we get into the new year and then another year passes, I'll probably have made a lot more. I keep having ideas for things that I could do, but you know, all the time though, I'm always thinking, yeah, how many videos is that going to take to get that done? How long is that going to take? How easy is that to do? I'm a lazy dungeon master, for those of you who haven't figured it out. I just don't have the time. So I always try to pick the easiest way to get something done. Alright, let us see. I feel like this, I can probably go over the top of that. Is it top or bottom? Top or bottom? Top or bottom? Make a choice. Make a choice, Fred. Alright, it's going over the top. And remember, squeezing down over the structure is really important, even if it's not necessarily exactly the right shape for what you want, because you do not want air pockets. Air pockets are bad. Means that when you go to work with it, there's going to be a slight weakness in it. All we're really trying to do right now is just join everything up. Like so. For those of you who don't realise, it is Friday in New Zealand, and I bought myself a new phone, which I found out can do ultra high definition, which I believe is 4K. I don't think I can stream in New Zealand on 4K. I think it would be impossible. I think there's no such thing as a connection in New Zealand that could cope with that. We're just not. It's not North America, and we don't have internet that's that good. But it means that I can do my Twitch TV on the new camera if I want, and I can need to get some more putty, and I can also do really high quality video off my phone, of all things. Like, yeah. And this is not an iPhone. It's not a high-end phone. I think it's like a Samsung S5. So it's old technology. It's I couldn't believe it. The Samsung S5 can do high ultra high-end video, and some of the newer Samsungs can't, and you pay more. What the heck? I don't understand that. It's just crazy stuff. Roll for damage. I'm in the same boat with the time thing. Haven't posted for 3 weeks. Yeah, see, this is why roll for damage I started going live, and why I've been trying to convince Wally DM to go live, but he gets really nervous. He doesn't like doing it, and I totally understand, because I used to get nervous too, because it's a lot of pressure, and you feel like you can't make a mistake. But I would suggest to you, your channel's awesome. There's a whole lot of stuff you do in the background, roll for damage, that nobody ever sees, and you probably think that nobody's interested in seeing you do that. And all you do is, when you're doing that sort of stuff, you just set up your camera, you point it in the right direction, you do your live stream, and then you say goodbye and you're done. And that's all you got to do. Yeah? And then you decide if you want to do another video after of the final product, then you make it happen. That's what I reckon you should do. You're never going to compete with those bigger channels that go live all the time, unless you do it. And you can do that a lot more. So yes. Not all content has to be pre-recorded and then published. It's good to have that, but I still think that live is a nice addition as well. It's much easier for a small channel to keep up with that time frame. It's why the big networks do it too, because they know that they can get away with doing a lot more. Monsters, monsters, monsters. So this thing is it's starting to develop some legs now. I don't know what's our time frame on how long we've been going for. It's impossible for me to tell sometimes. I don't know, just over an hour. Yeah, which isn't actually an hour because I started like 8 minutes late, right? So what's that, Hate? Hate makes what's that? Miller Superfine White. I can't work out what you're meaning there. Is it good? Milliliter Superfine White. Is it good? I don't know. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Sorry. Roll for damage. Makes sense. Yeah. The live streaming. Good. Cool. I have a loud house with 2 small kids, which is an issue with me streaming. You know, roll for damage. Just take the sound off. Your live streams, I've live streamed for 5 minutes, 7 minutes, and honestly, just don't worry about putting the sound up. You know, just eliminate the sound. Don't have a mic. Most of the time, a lot of people don't even listen. They're just watching you and doing their own thing and listening to their own music. Oh, right. Milliput Superfine White. Is it good? I haven't used it before. It probably is. No, it's alright, not a problem. All I'm using here, this is the Milliput Standard Yellow and Grey. That's all I'm using. I don't know much about the fine white, the super fine white, because I haven't used it. And I don't want to give you advice on something that I don't actually use and haven't had any experience, because that would be just like weird. And also make no sense. Talk to something that I don't know anything about? Nah. Okay, right, finally got that mixed. Sorry it was taking so long. In between drinking water, looking at the chat box, mixing putty, and get a bit distracted. Anyway, it is squeeze, squeeze, squeeze and flatten, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze and flatten. You gonna order a tube? Okay, cool. Not a problem. Not a problem, Hate. Go for it. Let me know how it goes. I've never used the fine. I think it's a bit more expensive too. That's the only thing. That's why I probably haven't been using it. Remember? Cheap D&D miniatures. That's what I'm trying to do, cheap D&D miniatures. And if you're going to use putty, you find the cheapest putty you can find, right? Okay, we're just stroking that. Do you think my Otyugh will get the wrong idea if I stroke it gently? No. Okay. The coating process. Who would have thought? Now, for those of you who have come and are watching and are not familiar, never made one of these before. First time. First time for everything. It's always a first time on my channel. Well, not always, but quite often, particularly when it comes to making miniatures. First time. I didn't spend 6 hours or 10 hours in the back making one the first time round. Okay, alright, so that's that. What's that, Andy? Did you order all your material online or from stores in New Zealand? Okay, so I bought the milliput from Vagabond store in Auckland City, and I got my tools, most of my tools, from either a game store, a hardware store, or I might have picked them up in a Chinese market, you know, like an import store where everything's really cheap, like toothpicks, supermarket, tinfoil. That's you know, I just go wherever the cheapest stuff is. And if it's cheaper somewhere else, then that's where I'll go. Yeah. Exercising my right as a consumer to shop where I want and get the product that I want. And if good service comes along with it, that's great too. But yeah, it's not like you're getting super service from an online store, so I don't necessarily do that unless I have no other choice. That's not to say I haven't used Amazon. I don't usually use Mighty Ape. I know my brother was talking about ordering stuff from Mighty Ape, and I was like, yeah, but they're pretty expensive. It's a New Zealand online store. And Book Depository, I use them quite a lot. That's mostly for books, not so much for materials because they don't have it. But yeah, tools and materials, all sorts of different locations. Okay, and well, let's still that side of the mouth there. It looks a little weird the way it is. Okay, what do we got here? Rolls for damage. Got to go, my man. Mini is looking fantastic as usual. I'll have to come back and finish it later tonight. Later, Fred and everyone else. Hey man, thanks for coming. Alright, hate. What's this? Hate makes. What? That was pretty capitalistic of you. Yeah, was it? Wasn't it? Yeah. Look, you know, it's always it's always there, right? It's always there. People aren't against capitalism. They're just against having a huge chunk of the pie go to just one or two people and everybody else having to work their butts off to support them. So that's all it is. Okay, sorry, I missed some of the conversation. Trent, what's your opinion of paper minis? I think that paper minis are a good idea. I've done a few videos on how to make your own. And Trent, if you want me to do a live stream and make some more cardboard pawns, then I will do that. It's not a problem. It's always something that's a really useful tool to have because it's cheap and it doesn't take up a lot of space. You know, you can make your own stands. Ball clip's good for making the stand, and I find that Magic the Gathering is a really good resource. You don't have to print anything. You just cut out their pictures off their cards, and you stick it on a bit of cardboard, the right thickness, and voila, you've got yourself your own standing cardboard miniature or paper mini or whatever you want to call it. Paper pawn. I think that's a great way to go. Same with tokens, you know, flat tokens, they can work too. You can make the same thing out of Magic the Gathering card. Joseph, do I have a big dice collection? Well, I did, but I went and tested them in salt water and sugar water, and I threw a lot out. Well, I didn't so much throw them away. I actually gave them to somebody else and kept the good ones. It's made a big difference. I was becoming classified as the dungeon master who could not roll above a 2, and that was affecting me mentally and psychologically, and I was going through incredible trauma, and and I might have had to seek some psychiatric assistance to deal with that problem if it continued. So yeah, I did have a lot, but I don't now. What's that, hate? It was a good job? Yeah, good. I'm I'm doing the sales thing, right? I'm a salesperson at Mitre 10, so I'm having to learn how to sell. Dear. Although I find myself occasionally feeling more like a tutor or a school teacher. I much prefer to explain to people how to do something than to sell something to them, and which is why I like doing the YouTube channel, you know. the concept, the hard sell is always the bit that's less important and less interesting to me than just communicating and just doing stuff, so that you guys can see what's going on and so that I can do it as well. I get a benefit out of this as well, man. And just, it's not like this is just for you. I get to fiddle around with tin foil and putty and paper clips and so forth and tools and make stuff. Doesn't matter if it's made out of wood. I don't care. I'll make it out of anything. Okay, Andy, do you use character tents, cards that I place on your DM screen to show initiative? Yes, I most certainly do. Usually I just make them out of a square piece of a rectangle of paper. I don't usually sort of print out anything special, although I've had players who insisted that must be done, and they've come along with their own and then handed them round, which has been kind of cool. But yeah, no, not necessarily that way. I'm assuming you use them yourself. I much prefer going to Mitre 10 over Bunnings just because of the service. Service with a smile. Well, service with some advice is always good, eh? Alright, okay, so let's get this leg coated. We're mucking around. I really struggle with the concept of trying to get things done in the time frames that people would expect, because let's get real, considering how long I've been just putting this putty on. This is just a first layer, and then the detailing needs to be done, and then there'll be eyes and teeth that need to be added. It's probably going to take me at least a few more hours. It won't be just this video, it'll have to be another video. And of course I've got to space them out now. I can't sort of do them like a couple of days apart because I'm working. So that means that you might have to wait till my next weekend, like the following Friday. But yeah, I'm on Twitch TV tonight, New Zealand Standard Time 7:30. Through to about 10 o'clock. We're going to have to finish a little bit earlier than normal because I have to get up and go to work next day. And we're playing Storm King's Thunder, and they've dealt with the Maelstrom. They did alright. Well, no, they didn't do alright. Things sort of went to pot, but we got through it in the end. So yeah, if you guys want to come and check me out, How to D&D on Twitch TV, 7:30 New Zealand Standard Time. That's 7:30 PM. Then yeah, cool. Come and see what we're up to. I'm not going to pretend that we're super fantastic. This is not like it's Critical Role or anybody else. We're just a bunch of people who get around and talk. And I'm doing it on my phone, so there's limited things I can point the camera at. And most of the players don't like the camera being pointed at them. I'm fine with it. I don't mind. But yeah, they have an issue. And their privacy, right? They don't really want to know who just said what. Disembodied voices are much better for them. So it takes the form of more of a podcast, and you can see the miniatures moving on the table. That's about the extent of it. But I will also go a bit over my layout. So I'll show you behind my Dungeon Master screen tonight when I'm doing it, so you can see sort of roughly what I'm at. What am I doing? How am I planning myself out? You'll get an opportunity to see my initiative tents for the game, and sort of how I lay out. You always say, oh, this is what I do, but do you always do exactly the same thing with every single game? No, not necessarily. Okay, that's that done. Okay, what's this? Andy, we got here. I have so many monster tents that I need a way of organising them and storing them. All printed artwork. Oh my gosh, I don't think I could cope. Which is probably why I haven't done that myself. Usually, like I said, I just use a bit of I use one initiative for my monsters usually, even if they're different monsters, just to keep the complexity down for me. I'm even if I can't get the players to move quickly through combat, I try to do that myself, just to keep things rolling. And yeah, depending on who I think should be determining the initiative, I just use one initiative. Occasionally we'll use more than one initiative, but not always. Oh, yeah. Let's pad you down. Right, got that. Let's keep covering it. What's that? Hey mates, I subbed. Thank you very much. I ordered the super fine milliput. It's only $3 more. I'll give it a try. Yeah, and if you find that it's, you know, for the price, it's not really doing what you want it to do, I'm pretty sure that I think the super fine is probably only going to make it easier in terms of your sanding, getting a finer sanding finish and getting a finer surface, because this milliput, you know, if you don't put it on right, it can get a little bit rough or fluffy, but it still goes hard, so you can still remove that. I wouldn't say so much fluffy, it's more, I think most of the time when I've seen it happen, it's been mostly either very smooth, dries hard and smooth, or it's a little bit rough, and you can see it where the finger or your application has been a little bit out. Okay, Eric, how's it going on, Eric? Welcome to the group. Just mucking around with putty here, making a monster. Nothing unusual. Not at all. Oh, yeah. There we go. I'm getting, look, that's almost one leg completely finished. Told you I'd probably get the legs and the body done, and then the tentacles will have to wait till next time. But we just keep banging this stuff on. And then come back later and then build in all of the details that we want. Yep. Because that's the way I'm gonna do it. What's that, Andy? My guys like rolling initiative each round. Each round, oh my gosh, I get them to roll their initiative before we even start the game. Before we even start playing, I have them roll one initiative and write it on their little initiative card, and then we'll use that. And if we have to do another initiative round, I just give them all their tags and say write it on there and hand it back to me, so I don't have to try to doing the okay, everybody between 25 and 20, and okay, all right, that's you and you, and then everybody between the number of people who forget or don't hear you when you say that thing, and you've got to redo it. Oh my gosh. So now I suppose I should actually explain how I do that. Maybe that's what I'll do tonight, is I'll go through how I set up my initiative. Be very sensible, right? I should actually show you some of the shortcuts I take. Okay, Eric, does it dry on its own, or do you have to heat it? No, thank you, Eric, for subbing. Thank you very much. Look, no, honestly, it just dries out, but I've got about 2 or 3 hours to work with it. If it's really, really cold, it'll take even longer to dry, which can be really handy, because if you need to work with something and you don't want it to dry, then you've got time to fiddle with it. The only hassle is, if once you get a certain amount of material on it, you have to just let it dry and then come back and add more. Otherwise, you wind up moving the stuff around and it just makes a big mess. So yeah, essentially dries hard. It's a 2 mix, so there's 2 mix. I've got one ball here and another ball here, 2 different compounds, mix them together, and it dries hard within a few hours. And usually about a day, it's hard enough to start working with if you really want to, but I usually give it a couple of days before I try and do anything else. Joseph, you got to go? You have to go? You have a good day, Joseph. I'll see you later. Alright, what's that hate? Milliput Black looks to be the cheapest, by the way. Yeah, it's not the cheapest in New Zealand. It's probably the cheapest online for Amazon, but it's not the cheapest for me because when I was talking to the local store, it just wasn't going to be a cheap option. It was going to cost me more. I had to get them to ship it in, and sometimes they can't get it in. And anything that I were to try to buy from New Zealand on Amazon it's at least $15, or if not more, just shipping cost to get something from Amazon to New Zealand, which is why I prefer the book depository, because if I can buy it from there, it's free shipping. Mighty Ape does. I'm pretty sure they do free shipping as well, but most of their stuff is already overpriced as far as I'm concerned, so it doesn't work out in the end. Okay, Andy, our group is 7 players and 1 NPC plus monsters. Initiative gets crazy, but fun for us. It works and everyone is happy with it. Look, as long as everybody's having a good time, who cares, you know? Honestly, I don't think it really matters as long as you all have a good time. That voice is disappearing on me. Anyway, let us keep squeezing things. We've got a little bit more time. We'll try to get as much on here as we possibly can so it looks more yellow rather than silvery. For those of you who want sort of a better look at what's been going on. Yo, yo, yo. I'm going to put, I definitely want to put a tongue in this thing. Absolutely feel like it's vital that this thing have a tongue. But I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to let the mouth area sort of set before I try to shove anything in there. It's not going to work otherwise, it's just all going to be a mess. And I think what I'll do is I'll make the tongue, I won't attach it, and I'll glue it with hot glue in there. I just feel like it'll be easier to manipulate. Okay. Squeeze that in place. And then get my little tool and press it down. Alright, and now back to the plastic one. Oh, wrong end. I like the smaller end rather than the bigger end, because it's the bigger end, that big flat spatula look. I think that is much better if you've got a nice flat surface. There's nothing particularly flat about this particular creature. It's way too many curves to be to using it. And let me just go around here, patting it down. Now I know it just looks like a hoary mess, but I'll say it like I always say with everything that I do. You just need to give it time. It will look a lot better. Just this is early days, early days. Oh, okay. What have we got here? I haven't been paying attention to the screen here. Well, while I'm doing this, let's have a look and see what we've missed. Andy, have you done any videos on D&D Beyond? Yes, I have. I've got a video playlist for D&D Beyond, but I should do some more. The first release of it did not look like I did not like, but recently it seems much better. Yeah, it is a bit better. I wouldn't pay for it, unfortunately. I don't feel like the pay version's worth it. Not unless you really feel like money's not an issue. But the free options that you can use, I feel like that's definitely something I would play with. Making monsters, you can make your own monsters. You can build a character on there, which I need to do because somebody was asking about how to build characters not so long ago and having trouble making, I believe it was a paladin. I still feel that, you know, there's so many videos on how to make a character, that if you really want to do it with pen and pencil, you can, but there's lots of apps that help do it. You know, I've done a video on the 5th edition character sheet, which is a great app for just building a character in 2 minutes. It's really, really quick, much faster than D&D Beyond. But D&D Beyond has got pictures, you know, and it gives you all of the abilities, features and so forth by their name, whereas the 5th edition character sheet, it doesn't include that. It tells you and explains you how it works, but you don't actually know what that feature is because they haven't included the correct name in it. And that can be a bit of a drag. I think that's where people sort of get a little confused at my table or at other people's tables when they can't sort of, okay, is this the second win for the fighter or is this something else? It's also got the ability you can make, what do you call it, magic items, custom magic items, custom feats. You can base it off an existing feat and just build onto that. What else can you do? I think you can do a bit more than that, but yeah, that's the stuff that I sort of noticed the most in terms of D&D Beyond, that is. Hate, my group is my 3 kids. Oh, I'm so glad you're playing with your kids. One is 10 years old and 2 twin boys at 7. Awesome. Yep, we need more kids playing the game. We need a Dungeons and Dragons game that can be easily picked up at the age of 5. We want them playing early, rather than spending all their time on the Xbox and the PlayStation. In person. Close up and personal. Develop those social skills. How to communicate with somebody. Face to face. What's that, Andy? Hate makes you're a good dad. Yeah, you definitely are. Thank you. Do enjoy being one. Yeah, good. Cool. And the bonuses, it gets them away from the techie stuff. They spend enough time on the techie stuff already, I imagine. And we're doing techie stuff now. We're, you know, YouTube is techie stuff. But video games, oh, I can't play video games anymore. I get too addicted to them and I wind up just spending all my time doing it, nothing else. What's that, Andy? It's been good for me managing an NPC who is traveling with my group. Yeah, just got to be careful not to outshine them, right? That's always the trick. It's why I try not to have too many NPCs. I know I tend to make my NPCs in and out quick and fast rather than traveling with a party, just so I avoid any kind of overshadowing or reliance on the players, particularly if it's an NPC with an ability or, you know, if they haven't built a healer and it's a healer and they wind up having to rely on that NPC all the time. I feel like if I can get them to concentrate on doing their own stuff and just focusing on the monster, but to each their own. You know, everybody's got their own way of running the game and doing things, and that's all right. There's nothing wrong with it. Just for me, I'm always aware. I've seen dungeon masters playing characters with their party because they don't get to actually play the game. They are always dungeon mastering and they get jealous and they get frustrated. And so they try to play a character while everybody else is playing a character, and it just, the favoritism, it becomes obvious over time, and their characters never seem to be the ones that are on the ground unconscious or have perished or died. They always seem to have the best gear. I'm always concerned about that, so which is why I don't play long-term NPCs. I try to keep my NPCs out of the mix. And I will often have my monsters targeting the NPCs so that they are either disposed of, or, you know, they decide, oh no, this NPC just can't survive if it keeps traveling with us. We want them to stay in a safer location. All right. Something about a pet dragon. Hate mates, I run a pet white dragon for my daughters, and I run an NPC that's like their mentor, so I can answer questions in character. questions I can't answer as a DM. Yeah, well, you can do it that way, but who said that you can't just give your kids advice, or even anybody's players, give them advice and not be in character? You know, I don't quite understand why people think that doing it outside of the game and giving them advice and saying, oh, look, you know, you could do this, you realise, particularly if you know that they're going to do something that's a bit foolish and because they're a bit inexperienced. You know, you can drive the story. It's always nice to have an NPC who can help provide clues. I know where you're coming from with that. That's always a nice thing, because it's, you know, you can drop the breadcrumbs as you go. But I had a player who was trying to make a decision on Wednesday about what they were going to do, and not Wednesday, last night we were playing Dungeons and Dragons in the Dainty Cafe, and they were like, what should I do? And I said, well, you know, look, you've moved. You can just dash and move further if you don't think you can do anything else. And don't forget, you know, even if you can't hurt this monster because nothing you've got will do any damage, you can always use the help action. You know, is it really that wrong that the Dungeon Master gives the players advice? Remember, you're not against them. It's the monsters you control that are against them. Okay? You as the Dungeon Master, you're on their side. You want them to succeed. You know, give them some help. They don't have to do what you say, but sometimes they won't be aware. Andy, what's that? I started playing again after 30 years with my son who was 16. I wanted to learn after seeing all of my D&D books. Well, that's awesome. I think that's great. It's how it should be. You know, pass on the hobby. The hobby is reasonably strong right now, and the only way it's going to survive change is to actually continue to grow, because there's such a push for virtual reality and other things that they can spend their time on. You know, they can be on Facebook, they can be watching YouTube, they can be on Twitch TV, they can be playing Xbox One, computer games, you name it. All those things, plus all their friends and all the things they get up to with their friends. So, yeah, that's good. Eric, cool. I started playing when I was like 12. I'm now 37 now, and learning how to play, how to DM for my kids. Yeah, that's how it should be. I did a video on how to streamline Dungeons and Dragons 5e for kids. So if you're ever looking for some ideas, I'm assuming if you're already doing it, you're already doing this stuff anyway. But there is a video on how to streamline Dungeons and Dragons for kids that I put up a little while back. I think if you just do a search for streamlining D&D 5e for kids, you should be able to find it, or children. It'll be under one of those. Oh, yo, 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 yo. Yo, 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 yo. Alright, so I think I've got a little bit of putty left. I'm going to finish up this putty, and then I'm going to go and rest my voice before I cannot speak anymore. It'll make it very difficult for me to Dungeon Master tonight if I can't speak. You can't DM if you can't speak. I will sound like a craggy old lady. Or a craggy old man. Why did I go straight to lady? Craggy old man. Craggy old man. It's very hard to fill in all of the little pockets of air that are created with this putty as it goes over the tin foil. Just got to be careful. Keep pressing with your finger. I find that the finger and the plastic tool is fine, but yeah, the finger is always the better option. And there's a little spot there just underneath the foot. We'll get that done. Yeah, you're welcome, Eric. Yeah, streamlining D&D 5e for kids. Yeah, have a look for it, man. What's that, Andy? Sometimes I give advice, but it might be as simple as I look, I give them, or might say, yeah, you really want to do this? Yeah, yeah, we all do that. We all do that. I do the same thing. Yeah. The Dungeon Master Evil Smile, or the chuckle, is a very good technique for alerting players to a choice that's not so great. Not that I don't want them to make poor decisions, because, you know, that's part of the learning experience. My only problem is I've become so good at putting on that face that they're never too sure, because what I'll do is I'll present that face, the Dungeon Master chuckle, even when there's nothing wrong. so it's a little bit, it's not always a great indicator for them. I've got a few people at my table who are very familiar with my DM style, and so they're always watching me, and they've figured out my tells, and so I know I have to now change my tells to compensate. Otherwise, all they will do is just look at what I'm doing on my face and how my tone is to figure out what's the best course of action. Oh dear. What's that, Trent? I'm 18 and the oldest of our group of 5. Oh, cool. I'm still new to being the DM and find this very helpful. Well, that's good. Great. Hey, Trent, you're 18 and you're the DM. Look, DM, by all means. It's good that you DM. But my suggestion to you is when there's somebody who feels like they might be up for having a go themselves, get them doing it. You know, one of the greatest aspects of any Dungeons and Dragons group is a bunch of friends who know each other, rather than just a bunch of strangers who get together to play Dungeons and Dragons. And also, if you have people in the group who can do both, because you really haven't played Dungeons and Dragons unless you've played the game and you've Dungeon Mastered. Doing both is really, really important. And you get a really good understanding and perspective as a player by Dungeon Mastering, and you as the DM get a really good perspective of what it's like for the players when you make decisions or make a call or do things in the game. So I highly recommend that everybody be a player and everybody be a DM, and as soon as your group has got somebody who looks like they could cope with doing a bit of DMing, get them to have a go. What's that, Andy? Like random rolling behind the screen for no reason, but to keep them thinking something is up. Yeah, that's a good technique. Yeah, that's a good idea. I did a video on when to roll for dice, and now there's lots of different reasons why you should roll dice, right? You know, is there a chance of failure? Is there not a chance of failure? One of the things I've come across though, which I didn't fully understand till recently, and that is there are times when letting the players roll the dice, even though you don't need to roll the dice, they want to roll the dice. Let them roll the dice. You know, if you've not put in place a repercussion or a chance of failure with what they're trying to do, they don't know that, and some players just like the very random nature of Dungeons and Dragons, so even if they don't need to roll a dice, they still want to roll a dice. I let them, you know, and even if there's going to be no consequence, they don't know that, they just roll the dice, they think there is. Or you can actually build in a consequence that you didn't decide to have the first time round. That's alright too, eh? Okay, alright, I think that is probably enough. I've been waffling for like an hour and 40 minutes, so that's probably enough. And we'll come back, we'll do the tentacles and start dealing with a bit of some of the actual detail, because right now it doesn't look like much. Okay, it just looks like a thing with tentacle things. It's got 3 weird looking legs and it's toothless. We don't want a toothless Otyugh. You want something that's actually got some teeth, something that'll be a bit scary and a bit weird. Okay, so I'm going to call it quits here for today and say, look, we'll be back probably in about a week's time when it's my weekend again, which is Friday, New Zealand Standard Time. So next Friday, I'll be back doing this again. So yeah, if you found this video helpful or informative, then hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, I totally understand. I'd get bored after an hour and a half too. Eric, have you ever made a beholder? Yes, I have made a beholder. Tell you what, Eric, I'll go get the beholder and I'll show you right now. Don't go anywhere. Where is it? Okay, I got a whole series of videos on how to make cheap D&D miniatures. So if you look for a playlist called Making a Cheap D&D Miniature or D&D Miniatures, you will find there's a whole bunch of videos on how I made my beholder. Okay? It's a piece of cake. You can do this. Easy as. Super simple. Okay? Anyway, if you like the video, hit the like button. And if you have to go, but you're doing a great job. Thank you, Andy. I've got to go too. I gotta go and do some stuff. It's getting late. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, and there's a bell button beside the subscribe button, and that'll give you a notification when I am live and when I publish a new video. And I do videos pretty much every single day, but you know, it's good to know when I'm actually doing a live stream. Otherwise, it's a little bit hard to know, oh, I do try to schedule everything, but if you really want to know what's going on, then hitting the notification button, you know, that bell button is really good. I know it's buffering again, and the beholder is coming. Yes, don't worry, I won't move the beholder. It's still in my hand. Don't freak out. Don't worry. It will show up. It will show up. Okay? If you want to support my channel, then watch more of my videos. And I get a bit of AdSense revenue from that, which is really, really helpful. I don't do Patreon, but down in the description there are affiliate links. You can buy stuff online. I get paid a small commission, and you pay exactly the same price. And you don't even have to buy the thing that it's linked to, which is really kind of helpful, I thought. I thought that was a great idea. Amazon's nice about not that sort of thing. If you have any questions, then your chance was to ask in the chat box, but I'm about to go very shortly, so you can ask any questions you have down in the comments section and give feedback. And maybe, you know, share me a link if you make your own stuff, because that's always cool too. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. So, we will be back to finish it. It isn't over. The Otyugh is not complete. And we'll see you guys in about a week's time for the continuing story of the Otyugh. Where is it? Transition screen.